Oh, hey, Carrie, is this the host? Did I click on the right host link?
I think so. I think you started the recording already, which is fine.
It just said to start. I didn't.
That's okay. I think well,
I have.
huh.
No, I mean we can stop the recording and restart it. We do have some attendees here, so welcome. We're gonna be getting some things settled in, but or we could just trim it when we are done. If I don't know, you know, depending on what how we're gonna do the recording. But
Here we go. Okay, I was looking to see where I could see everybody joining. So good. All right. So Kathy and Nick, I can watch particularly for questions that are like more about AP credit, IB credit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to start talking about a little bit about what this is for. So hopefully we'll get, but I know it's inevitable because students need to know. It's okay.
That's right.
but right now I have it set to where attendees could chat with us. I think that's fine if they need to send us a private message, right? But they can't chat with each other. So okay. So I mean, I think things are looking good. So I'm gonna turn off my stuff. Kathy, we can start here in a few minutes and
I'm going to share then and get ready.
sure.
Okay.
Or you can turn off your video if you want, or we can just stay here. Carrie, should we stop the recording or we can just trim it when we're done, right?
Yeah, we can definitely trim it.
Okay. I'll just let it run so we don't forget.
So just tell me when I should start and I'll start. A few more minutes.
And then Kathy, when you start, you can just ask them to put any questions in the Q&A.
Oh, Q&A. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
Thank
then when you go from one section to another, should we see if there's any questions or we'll just do
Yeah,
all
I can pause. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Happily.
All right.
So it's 1:30 in parts of Asia and I always try 1:30 in the morning. Yeah. Oh, escape. Got the wrong slide deck open. Whenever you think I should start, Carrie, just let me know. If you want to let a
Yeah, I would give it,
couple of minutes.
it's 1:30 now, maybe give it like 1 or 2 more minutes. I
Sure.
can see that more people are
Yeah.
joining. Okay, Kathy, if you want to go ahead and get started, I think that's fine. We'll probably see a handful more hop on.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, Carrie. So welcome, everyone. I'm really glad to have the chance to give this webinar and share some information with you. I'm Kathy Bauman. I'm the director of the Chicago Language Center in Cobb Hall. It's a building you'll all be in. It's one of the big classroom buildings on campus. Um, I've been involved with language teaching, language learning since I got to the University of Chicago in 1999, and even before that, working in the German program. Now I'm the director of the Language Center, where we work with everyone who teaches language to, really professionally develop how they teach and how they test. The purpose of this session is really to invite you to think about how language learning in really real world language proficiency can impact your Chicago college experience and your life and career after you leave the college. I'm sure everyone listening to this webinar has studied a language. Many of you know another language, use another language at home, maybe even more than one language, additional language. And the college has an amazing number of international students who also bring those language abilities with them. U Chicago is an institution where language learning and language proficiency and all that cultural knowledge that comes along with it are really valued and play a role across all disciplines, no matter what your major or minor might be. Um, everything everyone studies here can be enhanced with language learning. And we teach a lot of languages here at Chicago. This is a list you can find on the Chicago Language Center website if you click on the link that says languages. Um, and also, a lot of these are links to more information. And I really would invite you to maybe explore all these possibilities a little bit. But not right now. So please give me your attention so I can, and you will be able to ask questions during this webinar, and at the end of this webinar. And I really promise that what I want to share here will provide you with some information that you possibly didn't expect. Because what we do with language learning, teaching here, testing even at Chicago is very different from a lot of our peer institutions. So a little bit first about the CLC, the Chicago Language Center, and this is our mission. Our goal is to really reframe the way that a lot of students think about language learning and the language requirement. It's not just a box to check, but you're really in a position to develop some skills that broaden and deepen everything you do here at the university, no matter what discipline. And we also believe and we know that having language skills gives you better, more enhanced job opportunities, career opportunities, whether you're going on to graduate school or entering a professional career. So that's the work we do on campus to really enhance and reframe the way that everyone thinks about language learning. The Office of Language Assessment lives in the Language Center, and we do a lot of innovative language testing because it's our language tests that provide you with credentials and certification for you to take out into the world after you've reached these different language levels to really show them what you can do with language. And the language testing also drives innovative teaching. So when you're learning a language here, you're getting some of the best teaching methodology and teaching practices I think you'll find across the United States and even in the world. Those language tests not only tell you what you can do with language, they help our instructors evaluate the way they're teaching. So there's a constant sort of loop of feedback there. All right. A little bit about the purpose of this session. First of all, the purpose is not to answer questions about placement results. All right, all of you that have taken a placement test, that test is still available to you on Canvas. You may have questions about the results of your language placement test. If you have those questions, you can go to our website, languages.uchicago.edu, and click on language study and move down here for information about language placement exams. And if you do right here, in this drop down, when you do that, you'll see a link to language advising contacts, and you'll see a long list of all the individuals you can contact about language placement, language study, language courses. So that's a resource for you, but not part of this presentation, this webinar. The purpose of this session is also not to ask questions, to answer questions about the language competency requirement. You can find information about that in the college catalog. If you click on the core, you'll see language competence listed there. And if you click on that, you'll see all the different ways you can satisfy the language requirement. So that information is there for you, and I'm always available to answer questions about it. And so is your advisor. They know how all of those options might work. These are the purposes of this session, to really learn and maybe think about how language proficiency, language study can enhance your studies and your career, to learn about different certifications, credentials, honors, and other advantages that can result from language study. Also to learn about how language study intersects with the Study Abroad Office, the Office of Fellowships and Research, and other opportunities on campus, and to learn about events, advising, and more. So that's what I want to share with you now over the next 40 minutes or so. We know in the Language Center and in the Office of Language Assessment that having language proficiency will impact your career opportunities. These are some graphics from a professional organization around language instruction, and this is data based on their research, knowing what employers are looking for and what employers need. There's a real need out there for people with language skills, and it's across every discipline you can think of, not just being a language teacher or being a professor of a language. Really, every skill, every discipline from the physical sciences to the humanities, social sciences, biological sciences, and medicine. Language proficiency can also have an impact on getting a higher salary. There are terrific careers at the NSA, and also job demands are expected to rise for multilingual speakers for the next 5 years in the future. And that's a statistic from 2023, and we know that's only getting greater. And why this need for the multilingual workforce and this idea that everyone speaks English just isn't true anymore. And globalization and the interconnectedness of careers, academia, professional arenas is only growing more and more. And some of our biggest partners internationally, not everyone does speak English. And there are a lot of people out there who do know English and do know another language. So we hope Chicago students want to position themselves as being multilingual so they can be comfortable and proficient in those contexts or speak another language to have these enhanced career opportunities. So this is real right now. This is some language from a recent reading institute we opened for professional and academic reading to address the issue of AI. And even though AI is a tool that can help in language learning and also help in accessing some materials in other languages, just translating it really doesn't make it possible to do the kind of analytical reading or in-depth reading or culture reading you need to do when you're dealing with sources in other languages. So AI is a tool and it's a useful tool, but it can't do everything that we need it to do. And this idea that everyone speaks English again is just not true. And also, especially reading additional resources in other languages, you not only have to understand the language, you have to understand the cultural context that it's coming from and the cultural perspective. And the kind of language learning you do and study abroad here at Chicago can give you those skills. How does language proficiency and language skills, how do those impact your college studies? It gives you access to information in other languages. So if you're working in mathematics and you want to read something or know about mathematics practices or mathematic graduate study or research in Germany, you can have access to that. It gives you access to perspectives, different global perspectives. It can connect you with faculty. The faculty at the University of Chicago are just as international as the student body, and there are many, many faculty from many different cultures speaking many different languages and doing research in a lot of different arenas, and again, across disciplines. And this, knowing another language can give you a connection to those faculty. It also can give you opportunities or really provide you meaningful opportunities and a competitive edge for international study and research opportunities, and those are supported in career advancement, study abroad, and other offices in the college. It also connects you to those global communities. So if you get a research internship in a research lab in France, you can, even if people speak English in that lab, you're going to have a connection to that global community that people who don't speak French have. It also gives you opportunities for things after your bachelor's degree, fellowships, scholarships, um, research opportunities, academic opportunities if you know other languages. So it really can have an impact while you're here as a student and looking beyond your graduation. But let's come back now to the University of Chicago and look at some of the things that we offer in the Language Center. Especially in terms of credentials and certifications. Um, the Office of Language Assessment in the CLC offers proficiency certifications at two different levels. And it's maybe important to talk about what I mean by language proficiency. So this is not what you know about language. This is not a test or a assessment of your grammar or vocabulary. This is your functional ability. If I drop you into the middle of Tokyo or drop you into the middle of New Delhi or drop you in Oaxaca, what can you do with language? How well can you function? What real world objectives can you reach? And also how this can serve you in your academic or professional career. We offer proficiency certifications in two different levels. Practical proficiency, which is functional ability in personal and some professional or academic settings, and then advanced proficiency which means functional ability in academic or professional settings. And you can read these descriptions here, and you can see this is really tying language learning and language skills to the real world. And as I mentioned before, this is how language instruction happens at the University of Chicago, with instructors always thinking about you using and learning and using language in the real world. You're eligible to take these proficiency assessments after different sequences. So for example, for the practical language proficiency certification, if you're studying Portuguese, you can do that after 2 years of Portuguese. But if you're studying Arabic, you're going to need to study for 3 years. Some languages are more difficult than others, and it just takes longer to reach these proficiency levels. The advanced proficiency certification requires longer spans of language study, and also, if possible, and really recommended, is an immersion experience um, in the country to really reach that high level of fluency and facility. Um, our students, and there are many of them who come in with heritage skills, with that fluency and spoken and speaking proficiency and listening proficiency, you may be able to reach that level without travel abroad, although you may want to take advantage of some of those opportunities. These tests are offered twice a year. If you pass the assessment, we give you a certification that looks like this, which is a very nice looking certificate or certification. But I think what's really important about this certification is the description on the back, which really describes your language proficiency in layman's terms, right? So if you're looking ahead to having a CV or a resume and you want to talk about your language proficiency, this tells you ways to really talk about it in specific terms instead of saying just, I'm very strong or I'm fluent, right? And not only does this give you a way to describe it, it gives you an actual document that tells the world how well you can function in that language. So we see students getting these certifications in more than one language sometimes. And we hope that you'll think about taking advantage of them. It's a real credential to take out into the real world, to enhance those possibilities that I've already spoken about. Another credential, another certification you can get is in language for specific purposes, or LSP. So LSP is an area or an approach to language teaching where courses are designed to prepare you to use language in professional contexts. Um, we work with language instructors across multiple languages to design tests, first of all, for language for specific purposes, and then to use those tests to design really innovative coursework to prepare you and to function as a professional in the workplace. There are a couple of established LSP courses and tests. One is legal Spanish in public interest law. The other is Spanish for social service workers in the SSD, the School for Social Work at Chicago. And we're working with other colleagues across multiple languages to develop LSP assessments and LSP courses. As you can imagine, since we're talking about functioning or preparing you to function in a professional setting in the workplace, most of these courses are going to demand at least 2 or 3 years of language study. So if you come in and place into the end of the first year or the second year of language, we hope you'll keep studying language to make it possible for you to get a foreign language proficiency certification, FLPC, or to pursue an LSP class and its certification. Again, this is a documentation, a credential for you to take out in the world and show you're ready to function in the workplace. And we look ahead to creating more of these LSP classes in more disciplines, because we know there are students who might think that language study is only leading to majors or minor in the languages, where really language skills are something that can reinforce and expand your career possibilities in all different disciplines. Maybe I'll pause there to see if there are any questions that I can respond to, or any comments. Anything, Nick?
Sure. There was one question about a report in the Tribune yesterday about the potential for languages being cut in 2026. And the student asked, do you have any sense of what might be cut and which may influence student course selection before any cuts? I said that I think it's safe to say that we don't know and can't speculate on what languages will be cut, but also I talked a little bit about course share as an option,
Right.
where I said if any languages were cut, we would prioritize course share as a way to especially help any students who are cut in the middle of their language study, help them study the language more.
Right. And I saw that article too. I'm actually on one of the committees that's working on the restructuring and the reorientation of the humanities division. And I can say, as far as I know, there aren't going to be any cuts very soon. But as Nick said, we do participate in the course share program, which is across the entire Big Ten. And my ambition or my goal in the Language Center is to have the Chicago Language Center be sort of the place that organizes shared languages, like CourseShare, um, across different institutions. I should have introduced Nick Swinehart. He is our director for academic technology in the Language Center, and he coordinates CourseShare initiatives. So if a student wants to study a language we don't offer, he can sometimes, not always, get you set up to study that language at another institution that's offering it. We also offer our languages. We share our languages with other institutions. And CourseShare, I think, is a way that's going to make it possible um, for students to access an even wider range of language than we offer here at UChicago. I also think the willingness for institutions to share is going to grow as all institutions come under these financial pressures. But Chicago's been engaged with CourseShare since, Nick,
15 or
2017,
so.
15, yeah. So over 10 years. Um, and we intend to be able to keep offering that. Other questions that came in the chat?
Yeah, one other was, is it common for students to pursue proficiency in more than one language?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've advised many students about how to do that and how to further the study of one and then come back to the other. There are lots of great ways to do that, especially with all of the different study abroad programs. Another advantage at Chicago to pursuing more than one language is the quarter system, because it lets you move um, through different languages and then maybe do a quarter abroad or stay for a summer abroad. So I've seen students gain very high proficiency in multiple languages and even in multiple unrelated languages. Yes, you just need to be a little strategic.
Great. Just got a
Other,
question about what percentage of graduate students have the practical or advanced language certificate, or graduating students?
yeah, I don't know the answer. I can tell you that it's been growing every year, that we gave over 100 FLPC assessments last spring. So every year, more and more students are pursuing those certifications. It's a small percentage relative to the entire, so a graduating class is going to be around, I mean, Carrie probably knows the answer to that, 1,800 or something like that. Um, so we don't know exactly the percentage, but I think it's gaining more and more popularity also as students seek broader experiences in their careers. The number of students that go abroad is very, very high. I've heard a percentage of something like 40%, and we're trying to cooperate and collaborate with Study Abroad to invite those students back to take language proficiency assessments.
Great. One more question for now. Are the language proficiency exams available for students who self-studied a language, or are they only available for students who have finished second year plus level of language study at the
Yeah.
university?
We do have eligibility requirements, and that's because the tests are reading, writing, speaking, and listening, right? And remember, these tests have no grammar section. We're not testing your grammar because when you go to Peru, you don't stand on a street corner and conjugate verbs. These tests put you in you feel like you're in the country for 2 hours, speaking, reading, writing, and listening, and then you take a face-to-face oral test. So it doesn't really lend itself to self-study unless you have a tutor who's letting you have actual conversations on a broad area of different topics and letting you do some reading, some writing. But if you know a language or if you want to do self-study, please come and talk to me when you're on campus in the fall, and we can explore ways for you to get proficiency in all the languages you want to, or in the language you're interested in. Anything else? Good questions.
Don't think so.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Okay, Global Honors is another credential that we offer through the Language Center. It's a pretty new initiative. It was just began 3 springs ago. This is a way for college students to collect all of their global or international experiences and be recognized with an honors designation. It goes on the transcript as well. We know that students are engaged in a lot of different activities related to language learning, but also international engagement with communities in Chicago, doing internships in businesses that are international, even if the company is located in New York or San Francisco, doing study abroad. There are many, many ways that Chicago undergraduate or Chicago college students are engaged. So we created Global Honors as a way to collect all of those experiences and all that engagement and be recognized for real world global skills. We also know that, frequently when you're going to be looking for a job, when you finish your degree, they're going to be asking for things like intercultural competence or a commitment to global engagement. And Global Honors gives you a way to really demonstrate with real world engagement, real world experiences that you have that capability. This is the web page, the Global Honors web page. You can visit and you'll find on that web page a list of 40 or 50 different activities, different things you can do to earn Global Honors points. And when you hit 15 points, you are eligible, or you will be awarded Global Honors. And we really tried to cast a very, very wide net. It includes things like using international or using foreign language sources in a major research paper or honors thesis. It also includes activities you might do in ancient or pre-modern languages, because we teach a lot of those at the University of Chicago. You can also use multiple languages to get global honors. You aren't restricted to just using one language. So we hope that you'll also pursue or look at the global honors components, because there may be things you might have done anyway, or maybe something you didn't think about doing, but if you do that activity or engage in that way, you will be earning global honors points. It's a Canvas site. You self-enroll when you're here on campus. You can self-enroll when you're a first year and start looking at the possibilities. You'll have to upload some documentation of your global experiences or international experiences. You'll be recognized at events at the Undergraduate Research Symposium. You're also recognized in the Convocation program. You receive a very handsome certificate and a pin. And we have a reception during senior week with all of the students. And the range of languages that students are working on or using to get global honors is really everything from ASL to Yiddish. To the student who asked earlier if students can get foreign language proficiency certifications in different languages. When we had our global honors reception, we always announce the student, give them certificate and their PIN, and then announce the languages they're working in. And many of those students have achieved global honors through engagement in multiple languages. So I hope that's something you'll also consider, because you may be planning to engage in many of those activities anyway. I talked in the beginning about how the Chicago Language Center and some of its activities intersect with other programs on campus, and one of them is study abroad. We work very closely with study abroad. Many of the study abroad programs let you earn global honors points. Obviously, the language proficiency you gain when you're abroad also helps you um, become more proficient and puts you in a position to succeed on the foreign language proficiency assessments. This is the header of the of the study abroad website. There are many programs. Chicago has just an astounding array of different programs for study abroad, including programs in the summer. Um, just thinking about how a study abroad experience can really enhance your language proficiency, and your success on in the foreign language proficiency certifications. When you're abroad, you hear and see and language you don't usually hear in the classroom. So it really helps you gain some proficiency. We know that in the research, the language pedagogy research, that being abroad and that intensive immersion in listening builds the speaking skill. It kind of gives you a huge repertoire of language to use for speaking and to some extent writing. Not only then do you gain language proficiency, but you really gain that on the ground cultural knowledge and intercultural competency by being there and experiencing those differences and similarities between different languages and cultures, and also navigating those challenges. And when you return from study abroad, you can retake placement tests and sometimes jump over one course. I've seen students jump over two courses and really accelerate your language proficiency. And to the student who asked about taking FLPCs or getting foreign language proficiency certification in more than one language, study abroad is a key component in trying to do that. These are a couple of the actual global honors components that are related to study abroad experiences. I'm not going to read through them. I think I've already mentioned some of them, which is getting you in a better position to pass the proficiency tests. They can also make it possible for you to major or minor in a language by helping you jump over some of the requirements for majors and minors. You may also be in a position then upon return to do faculty research based on target language materials here in Chicago, or work in a lab or in a country where another language is spoken. Many of our physical and biological sciences majors do research experiences in other countries. Some of those are their home countries, some of them are programs abroad. Internship or work experience using a foreign language. So there are many ways where study abroad experiences interact with global honors and interact with your ability to function and perform on the foreign language proficiency certifications. Another office that we work with very closely is the College Center for Research and Fellowships. Um, this is an office that helps students apply for competitive, often international fellowships and scholarships, most often after graduating, but also during your college career. Many of those have language requirements, or for many of those, if you have language proficiency, you will be a more competitive applicant for those fellowships or scholarships. Also, completing one of these applications, because some of them are quite quite lengthy and involve a lot of work on your part, writing personal statements and getting letters of recommendation and other components, take quite a lot of work. So for many of the applications, For the CCRF, you can also earn global honors for those that are internationally focused. So this is another way that we collaborate with other offices to, make the work you're doing count in multiple ways, and also show you how language learning and language proficiency intersects with many, many things you're doing on campus. I'm just about at the end. This is actually my last slide. Any questions, Nick, about the last couple of slides?
Yeah, there are some questions. One student asked, how are the tests, I think the FLPCs, different from the high school tests for the seal of biliteracy?
So they're at a higher level than the seal of biliteracy. The seal of biliteracy is aimed at the what we would call the intermediate mid level. That's a level where you would be in many of the languages after only 1 year of college study. For some more, maybe a year and a quarter, where the practical proficiency assessment is aimed after full 2 years or 3 years of study. And as I mentioned, the advanced proficiency um, is at even higher level. Um, I don't know, there are many, many tests that one can take to earn the seal of biliteracy. None of our tests are multiple choice. The test format, the tasks that you're doing really give you the sense of being in the target culture, experiencing it. In fact, sometimes students come, I know of one instance where a student came out of the Japanese proficiency test and said, I feel like I just spent 2 hours in Japan. So that's because we're claiming those tests test your real world language skill. So we want you to feel like you're doing things you'd have to do in the real world. The biliteracy tests get at that a little bit, but our tests are at a higher level and I think more constructed to be more meaningful in terms of language proficiency. But the seal of biliteracy is a good start, and we hope any student with the seal of biliteracy will continue take those language skills and keep studying language when they get here.
Great. One student asked, would a quarter abroad with immersive language learning in that country qualify you to take the certification exam? So I would say in the chat, I put the links to the practical page and the advanced page and the
Great.
FAQs. All of those have some eligibility criteria information, which typically say what you said about 2 years of study, 3 years of study. Now, is there any wiggle room on that, or can you,
Mhm.
if you have something, if you, yeah, so if the student studied intensively abroad, does that change
Yeah.
anything?
I mean, I hope it should be maybe, I don't know, obvious, but it depends on really how much language you have when you go abroad, right? One of the study abroad offerings, one of the really fantastic offerings are called FLAGs, Foreign Language Acquisition Grants. They're grants of, I think they're $4,000 now for you to go abroad. You find your own program, 8 weeks intensive, to study language. Um, an interesting prerequisite for applying for a flag is that you have to have at least 1 year of language study, either a year of study here at Chicago or placement into the second year. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And Nick and I can tell you from what we know about language learning is if you go abroad with no knowledge of the language, you're kind of going like this because you're coming in with really nothing to rely on. If you go abroad with already a year or more, you can make an arc like this because you've got all that language knowledge and it's just going to accelerate it. So to answer the question of this student, and it's a very good question, depends on what language skills you already have when you go abroad. And I have to say it also depends on your commitment to only using that language when you are abroad. You can make very significant progress.
But as far as eligibility to take the test, I would say like read through the stuff on the website and then contact Kathy or the Office of Language Assessment. I'll put the email in the chat to ask about if there's like
Yeah,
if you kind
wiggle
of
room.
wave yourself into it.
Yeah.
Um, One student said instead of or in addition to studying abroad, would you recommend doing a summer internship in a country where the language is spoken?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The tricky thing about internships is that you're not always using the language during the internship. I mean, there are so many different opportunities in internships. But you can be using the language for all the time you're not in that office or lab, right? Or you can find an internship where you are in a setting where you do need to use the language. I've seen students do all of those things. It won't be, I should, s- I was going to say it won't be as intense as going and studying language, but again, you can make it intense if you only use the language and do self-study in the evenings, or maybe take a couple language classes at a language school. So I know students want to take internships, and internships are certainly, they're a very meaningful and important credential for you to take out with you into the world when you graduate. So hopefully you can do a little bit of both. Another thing to think about is the quarter system. So you might get an internship that runs all of June and July. You'd still have August and September to study a language because we don't start until the very end of September. So I've worked with students who have made the most of their summer doing an internship and being able to do language study. So we can use the calendar and the quarter system to an advantage in those cases.
Great. Somebody said, does your office help students get FLAS scholarships, and how early do students need to apply for a FLAS?
Right. So the FLAS scholarships live in the area studies centers. There's an area studies center for East Asian, the Center for East Asian Studies, and there's another one for Middle Eastern Studies. They administer and accept the applications for the FLAS. I can advise you about FLAS study. I can help read a proposal or advise students about how to best position yourself for FLAS. But we do not administer the FLAS awards. Those are in the area studies centers.
Great. If I'm interested in a fellowship or internship in a foreign language, would I start by expressing interest to the CCRF, my academic advisor, or one of the professors in that language?
Um, I would start by talking to your language instructor. Absolutely. They're going to be able to advise you. Also, go to the study abroad site and look at all the opportunities. Foreign language acquisition grants are available only to college students during the summer. Um, CCRF, the fellowships and scholarships are mostly for programs after graduation. I'd say after you've been on campus maybe a year, it's not too early to go talk to that office and find out how you could be shaping your studies or getting international or language experiences that make you a very competitive fellowship. Information gathering is something you're going to find in college is something really important because every time you talk to someone, you learn something else about what might work for you or what might not work for you. I'm also very happy to meet with students asking exactly questions like that one to give them links to resources or strategize how to, think about studying language or think about how your placement in a language might affect how you keep studying that language.
Great. And in what situations should students consider direct enrollment programs over taking just a quarter abroad? Would you recommend using the summer for longer abroad experiences over participating in similar programs during the year?
Yeah. Well, those are some really good questions. So first of all, maybe it's important to define what a direct enrollment program is. So in a direct enrollment program, you are enrolled at a university abroad, just like international students are enrolled here. So for example, the direct enrollment program in Berlin, you are in Berlin at the Freie Universität in Berlin as an international student. So you can imagine you need a pretty high level of German for that program. There are other programs in other languages. But of course, that experience is ever so much more intense. And you're also taking classes in disciplines in the language. So that's a very specific choice, and it's a challenging one, but it's one that pays off with significant language proficiency, and significant cultural engagement and cultural competence. I did a direct enrollment program myself in Germany. The summer offerings are a different animal again. Sometimes students do a summer flag, for example, before a direct enrollment program. That's another option. So your question is great, and it's like the beginning of a really interesting and in a lot of ways exciting conversations about all the different ways you can move your language skills forward while you're also doing other things, because there are just so many opportunities on campus in study abroad and the language center that can help you do all of those things. Any other questions?
Don't think so.
Okay, great questions. And thank you to all of you that asked questions, because any of the students who watch this webinar are going to hear your great questions and learn so much more about language study. A little bit more about things where you'll see the Language Center or see the OLA. We have a Universe of Languages event during the first week of the autumn quarter. You'll find us out in front of Cobb Hall with everybody teaching all the different languages. Also the Study Abroad Office, the College Center for Fellowships and Scholarships. Who else is there? The Area Studies Center. So everybody engaged with language study, language learning, and the uses of languages are out there, and you can ask questions and get more information and make contacts and meet some of the language program directors and also the language instructors. There's an Academic Opportunities Fair on September 30th. The CLC, the Language Center, and the OLA will be there as well, giving out information and answering questions about language study, global honors, foreign language proficiency certifications. FLPCs are given, the foreign language proficiency assessments are given in the autumn, and spring quarters. That's an error, sorry, autumn and spring quarters. Information goes out about those in the right away in the early part of the autumn and the early part of the spring, and you can register for those. There's a study abroad fair every January. The CLC and OLA are also there at the study abroad fair to give information about language study and how it can enhance your study abroad experience, or how study abroad can enhance your language experiences. The CLC and OLA also do tabling events around campus, sometimes in Cobb Hall, but also in other places, Regenstein Library, and other places where a lot of students are. So watch for those. They're giving out information, asking you to follow us on social media, and I think giving out free coffee, hopefully. And you can always email that language advising contact, the link I showed you that you can find on the language placement link on the CLC website. You can ask them for information about RSOs, which are registered student organizations. They're student clubs about just about every single language on campus, and some other languages we don't speak, or excuse me, we don't teach, but also student events, departmental events, and that's another way to connect with language and connect with the people who teach and learn those languages. And that's all I have. There's my email. Believe it or not, I'm happy to get emails from any student with any question to help in any way I can with the fantastic experiences you can have here to take some language skills out into the world with you.
Just one more question.
Please, of
If
course.
we would like to pursue proficiency in 2 languages, are we allowed to do 2 study abroad programs? Is that a
Yep.
question for study abroad?
It is a question for study abroad, but you can. I've seen students do 2 study abroad programs. I've seen students get 2 flags. I've seen students do a flag in one country in the summer and go to another country in the autumn for a civ program. There are a lot of ways to combine different languages and different experiences to advance proficiency in 2 languages. Absolutely.
Great. And I put the link for the study abroad office in the chat.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Have a great rest of the summer. Stay cool. It's 96 degrees here. And we look forward to welcoming you on campus in September. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Carrie.